with the emotional consequences and heartaches we may face and be called to endure. Throughout biblical and church history, God calls men and women to, quote, some definite service by his own choosing. He knows what needs to be done and who it is to do it, that's to do it. We do our bit by his leading and guidance and grace, not because we're puffed up and we feel anointed, but because we know we can do no other. You know, I think of the callings of different people. I think of the calling of Samuel, little Samuel, in the temple. And the Lord calls him as he's sleeping. And he gets up and he goes to Eli. And Eli says, no, I'm not, go back to bed. You're not hearing anything. And the second time, no, I didn't call you. Go back to bed. Samuel goes in to the old priest, Eli. God's calling me. And then Eli realizes that God is calling this little boy Samuel. He says, then go, let yourself be called. Listen to what he says. Listen to what he wants you to do. Listen to what he wants you to say. So Samuel does. And then he comes back and Eli says, what did he tell you? What did he tell you to say? And Samuel says, you don't want to know. No, tell me. And what Samuel did tell him was that God was furious and was wrathfully angry against Eli and his household because his two sons were adulterous, immoral, blasphemous priests. And they were desecrating the temple. So here is Eli telling Samuel, be open to God. Let him speak to you. Let him, come on, open yourself up, finally. Tell me what he says. And he certainly didn't want to hear what the little boy told him from God. Did Dietrich Bonhoeffer, Frank Watson's here, I think, today. Frank, the book you're going to lend me when you're done with it. Brand new book about Bonhoeffer, about this size. Did Bonhoeffer, the young German Lutheran pastor, ever fathom that he would be led to be part of a clergy group that would plot to kill Hitler? Did he ever think that would happen? Of course not. Did Peter, Andrew, James, and John ever contemplate leaving their fishing nets to become fishers of men? No. But Jesus called them, and they obeyed. Did St. Paul envision the Damascus Road experience when he was confronted by the living Lord, while he was persecuting and imprisoning Christians? No. But he obeyed. Did Peter, James, and Andrew know that they would be martyrs? No. Each and every day, we must be in prayerful dialogue with the Lord to learn more and more about what definite service he desires of us, and to be open to his voice in new ways. And when we have an inkling of what he might be calling us to do, we need to consult with others who are wiser, deeper, more mature spiritually. We must be certain that we're not hearing our own voice or hearing our own desires, that we're acting upon our own agenda, but we're hearing the voice of God. keeps us from hearing the voice of God. What has kept me from responding to the voice of God at times in my life is fear. Because he's going to change things. Why don't people tithe? They're fearful. They know they should. They know God's calling them to do it, but they're afraid. There's no other reason. Of course, there's sometimes when we don't go in a certain direction, there could be prejudice. No, I'm not, no. Whatever the prejudice is, racial, cultural, ethnic, I don't know. But there are times when we just have to say, you know, I'm human. I have fears. I have prejudices. So am I going to be held hostage by this? I knew a woman who was abused by her father for years, sexually abused, years. She said to me one time, you know, I can let this destroy my life and keep me a prisoner. I can get on with things. By God's grace. I said yesterday at the quiet dinner, since Rita and I were in our accident on September 27th, I'm a nervous wreck in a car. I love to drive. I used to do auto racing. And now I'm driving like this. I'm afraid. I pray that fear dissipates, because I have to drive. Because the Alexi tomorrow night. I've got to drive. Fear can cripple us. Fear just kind of wraps us and it mummifies us. Don't let it happen. Pray it away. Pray it away. Advent is a time for listening amongst other things, such as watching. I said that last week. Advent is a time when we're to be still and know that God is God, and that's tough. I wrote about this in the December Broadened text. But we must listen, and we must follow, and we must obey. And God may be well saying to us, maybe it's not anything new. He may just say, stay on course. Just stay on course. Or he will say, trim your sails. Trim them. Or he may say, there's too much cargo on board. Throw some cargo off. Or he may say, head into port for new orders. I don't know what God's going to say, but how will I know if I don't listen? And if I say, I know. Our common vocation is to strive daily towards that spiritual place to which Jesus went. Jesus surrendered his human will to the divine will of the Father. When Jesus was sitting there and his disciples said, are you hungry? He said, my food is to do the will of him who sent me and to accomplish his works. Now, did Jesus ate? Of course he did. He drank. But he wanted to say, my food, what really I eat, what really sustains me, is to do the will of him who sent me and to accomplish his work. Pray fervently for his will to be done. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Ghost. Amen.